fighting for America's freedom.
Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you watching the John Woodard Show. Today, we have the privilege of interviewing Judge April Wood, a sitting member of the North Carolina Court of Appeals, who is now a candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. Judge Wood, very nice to see you today. It seems like it's been a long time since Sunday, right?
It seems that way. I think we've both been busy, but it's nice to be here with you today.
Got so much going on. I don't know if I'm going or coming or if I've been and come back.
I understand that 100%.
Well, so it's going from the Court of Appeals to the Supreme Court is kind of like two sides of the same coin in many respects, isn't it?
It is, yes. Both the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court are appellate courts. So they review the decisions that are made in the trial courts.
But the Supreme Court is not as heavily weighted toward Republican members as the Court of Appeals, and that's correct, isn't it? That
is correct. Currently, the Supreme Court is 4 liberal justices and 3 conservative justices, and the Court of Appeals is 10-5.
So, if you get elected to the Supreme Court, your stepping aside isn't going to make any difference in terms of the balance on the Court of Appeals.
No, not a significant difference. And we have an opportunity next year also to elect 2 new conservative members to the North Carolina Court of Appeals as well.
I think that the judicial races have way more consequence in the lives of average people than most people think. You're a judge, you're in a realm by yourself. You don't have an awful lot of interaction with the public except for cases that come before you. But yet nothing could be further from the truth. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. You're correct. Judges have a lot of influence on everything that happens in the state of North Carolina, particularly at the appellate level, because every decision made at the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court is binding on the lower courts and has an effect on all of the trial courts and therefore all the people in the state.
More than that, some real important legislative issues that come out of the legislature that eventually find their way to your level and above, you can make a significant difference in important issues of the day of all stripes.
Oh, absolutely. If there is a challenge to the cases or challenge to the law that is brought to the courts, then obviously the courts are going to have the final say on what the law is.
There's so many things that, I'd love to be able to ask you about that I know you can't talk about because of the possibility that either cases of that description will come before you at some point in time, if not, sooner rather than later. But the real interesting element about the court system, I had no idea that members of the court, the North Carolina Supreme Court, don't have to have practiced law in the lower courts. That's amazing to me.
Well, you're absolutely correct. So the only requirement in North Carolina for someone to run for a judge position, whether it is at the trial court level, the district court and superior courts, the Court of Appeals, or the Supreme Court, is that they be a lawyer in good standing in the state of North Carolina. And of course, be under 72 because you hit mandatory retirement at 72. But right now, on our current North Carolina Supreme Court, of the 7 justices that are there, only one of them has ever been a trial court judge, which is kind of amazing because all of the cases that come to the Court of Appeals and to the Supreme Court come out of the trial courts.
Yeah, it looks like you would have to think naturally that a judge that comes out of the trial court has a few tricks up his sleeve that the justices might not possess.
Well, I believe that someone who has trial court judicial experience, such as myself, having been a trial court judge for 18 years before I joined the Court of Appeals, has unique experience because judges look at things very differently than attorneys do. And we get to see how attorneys try their cases. We understand what actually happens in the courtroom, and our mindset and the way we look at the law is very different because we have to apply it every single day. And we look at the Constitution and people's constitutional rights every single day. And we look at them just from a different perspective than a lawyer would. As you can imagine, a lawyer is trying to prove his or her case in front of the courts, and the judge is looking at every aspect of the case and is applying the law and the Constitution every single day. And so that hands-on judicial experience is very vital when you get to the Court of Appeals and to the Supreme Court.
Oh, I can only imagine the complexity of the issues that once they get to the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court, the really weighty issues of our time have a great many elements in them, and the competing interest of the state as well as the defendants or plaintiffs. There's an awful lot of back and forth, and it's amazing to me that the system works as well as it does.
And we do have a great system. Despite some people being upset currently with the judicial system, we do have the best system in the world, I believe, in the way that our judicial system works. And when the cases do get to the Court of Appeals and to the Supreme Court, you're exactly right. There are a lot of heavy decisions that have to be made and a lot that has to be looked at because there's a lot of nuances in every single case. But as an experienced trial court judge, it's easy to zero in on those issues and to be able to apply the important, relevant law.
Well, for instance, the current Texas abortion law is I think pretty narrowly written, but there's so many jurisdictions in this country that are waiting to see how that comes out of the U.S. Supreme Court to know what they can do in their own states. So that's a real heavy responsibility. But where do you think about that and the prospects of overturning Roe versus Wade?
I think it would be really interesting to see how the U.S. Supreme Court parses out the laws in the different jurisdictions and how they address the law in Texas. And as you know, jurisdictions are waiting to see how the Supreme Court comes down on that particular issue because their decision is binding on the entire country, just like the decisions that are made at the North Carolina Supreme Court are binding on the state. Because the North Carolina Supreme Court is the highest court in North Carolina, has the final say on North Carolina law and on the North Carolina Constitution, just like the U.S. Supreme Court has the final say on what the law in the United States is and what the U.S. Constitution says.
Have you had any encounter with Eric Holder and his group as they attempt to change the voting systems in various counties, and what does that entire process mean to you as a judge
Well, I personally have not had any encounters yet with Eric Holder. I'm waiting though, because I know that those on that side, they're very interested in the Supreme Courts of every state. And so I anticipate that we'll see some interactions in the future in the attempt to change or influence election laws in North Carolina.
Boy, the critical race theory has become a huge issue nationwide. Do you think that that has any prospect of getting to the higher level of court level in the coming months or years?
Well, critical race theory, as you well know, is not anything that's brand new. It's just that during the COVID pandemic, people started paying attention to what was being taught in the schools, and became very concerned about the things that were being taught to their children. And so now it's become a hot button issue. But in order for it to get to the court systems, it's got to go through the trial courts first. So someone has to have a cause of action. They have to have standing to bring that action. They have to have a basis for it. And I anticipate that that will happen at some point in the near future. I think that it's still perhaps in the planning works. I don't know of a particular case as of right now. But if I did, of course, I wouldn't be able to comment on it either.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. That's why I was trying to ask the question without digging in too deep. And but this is a very weighty issue, and I've been involved in that pretty heavily, as you probably know, and the prospects of sex education being taught in our schools that are just so graphic. I just can't imagine that people think that that's okay. But
well, regardless of what the one of the candidates running for governor in Virginia says, parents do actually have a right to determine what kind of education their children are going to receive. And they certainly have a right to prevent inappropriate material for coming into their homes in front of their little 5-year-old or 6-year-old children. I mean, they absolutely have a constitutional right to parent their children the way they see fit. As long as they aren't abusing or neglecting their children, they've got a constitutional right to oversee their children's education and ensure that it is proper and that inappropriate material is not being shown to them.
Well, it's certainly been a defining issue in that governor's race, and
Yes.
appears to have tipped the scales substantially in favor of Mr. Youngkin. But there's a whole lot more about what goes into the school system these days than just that. But that's probably outside of what we ought to be talking about with regard to your race. What do you think about the issues of that will come before you in the near term that are the hot button issues of the day? Do you have any sense of what that might be?
Well, as you're well aware, people are currently talking about things such as voter ID, redistricting, mask mandates, vaccine mandates, those types of issues. I presume that we'll see those in the court system very soon, and some of them already are there. So of course I can't comment on them. I can just say that I got a 20-year track record of being a constitutional conservative common sense judge, and if I haven't changed in the last 20 years, I'm not going to change in the next 20.
I think that says it all. Without You don't have to be very verbose to make a good, concise answer like that.
I am who I am.
Yes, ma'am, you surely are. Well, how are you doing out on the campaign trail? What has been your reception as you've traveled around the state?
Oh, I've had wonderful receptions as I've traveled around the state, and I've had people from all over North Carolina, from Murphy to Manteo, ask me to come speak to their groups, and not just political groups. So I've gone to other groups as well, such as Rotaries, Civitan clubs, different people who are very interested in the North Carolina Supreme Court and want to hear me talk about the importance of the judiciary and exactly what do Supreme Court justices do. So I've had a wonderful reception, and a lot of excitement has been surrounding my candidacy. So I feel very blessed.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you are. And where were you educated, ma'am?
So I graduated college from Pensacola Christian College in Pensacola, Florida, and I went to Regent University School of Law in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And for those of you who may remember, former Chief Justice Mark Martin is the Dean of Regent University School of Law. It's a great, wonderful institution with a conservative foundation.
Is Michelle Bachmann still there?
I'm not sure, but I know the answer to that.
Well, she was, but
right, she was, but I'm not sure if she's still there or not.
I had talked to Mark about, if he could give me an introduction, and he said that her office was right down the hall from his, but I don't know anything about, what the administrative positions are over there other than Mark's as dean. And I don't know, what the pecking order is, but as a national political figure, she has a lot of insights that may be a little old from when she was in Congress, but she's keeping up with them. So I'm really interested in talking to her, but I didn't know if maybe she retired in order to make room for him to come in.
No. So, Regent has a lot of different schools. There's the School of Government, the School of Law, there's the School of Divinity, there's, the arts program. There's a lot of different schools. And so Mark Martin is the Dean of Regent Law at Regent University, but there's a lot of different programs there and a different hierarchy within different schools. But, then the overarching chancellor of Regent University, as you might remember, was Pat Robertson.
As a matter of fact, I've known Pat probably for 30 years, and if not more. We last time I saw him was I was having dinner with some friends in the waterfront area of Portsmouth, and Pat and his group were sitting at the next table, and it was nice to see him and all that. But I haven't seen him since. I understand he just recently retired.
He did. He was, still doing the CBN broadcast regularly, and he recently stepped down from that. But of course, he's been doing it a long time. He's getting up there in his age. I'm sure he wants to enjoy just a little bit of retirement.
Well, my father got to retirement age and continued to work well into his retirement age. And by the time he did retire, it wasn't very long before he passed away. Never really had the opportunity to enjoy the money that he had worked so hard to collect over the years. I ended up, it was a very sorrowful situation in that respect. And I hope that Pat has put himself in a position where he can enjoy the fruits of his labor to the fullest extent before he passes away as well.
Yes, I hope he has too. He still lives right there beside Regent, the law building at Regent
Yes,
University.
ma'am, I know that. Yes, ma'am.
He loved the law school. That was definitely his, that was his pet project at Regent.
I remember when they started building that school, and I thought, like most people, gee whiz, why is he doing that? I mean, he's got these great law schools all around the country, and you just didn't think of him in that context. But boy, he has made that operation, that university, a first class school with big name people. You were there a couple of weeks ago. Tell us who was with you on the judging stand.
So as a alumni of Regent University School of Law, I was invited to come back for the Hassel Moot Court competition and to be a judge on the final round. And two of my fellow jurists were Ken Starr and Judge Albert Diaz from the federal bench.
Yes. Now, anytime that you're in Judge Starr's company, you're in tall cotton.
Yes.
You have, oh, there you are. Okay, I was going to say it faded away momentarily. Who are you running against? Who are your competitors for this race?
Well, right now there are 3 announced Republican candidates for 2 seats, and we do not actually file until December. So the filing period is from December 6th to the December 17th. And at that point, we'll pick an individual seat. I have not announced which seat I am actually filing for, but I will tell you that of the 3 candidates who are currently running, I am the only one who has experience as a trial court judge.
Well, that and the record that you've accomplished in the appellate courts should hold you in very high standing. Your competitors are who?
So there's 2 people who are running, and one is a colleague of mine on the North Carolina Court of Appeals, and his name is Rich Dietz. And then there's a lawyer for AOC. His name's Trey Allen.
For AOC?
Yes. That would be the Administrative Office of the Courts.
Oh, boy, those initials have a completely different meaning to that. I remembered when you said that, I remembered that he was with the what he was doing, but the first thing that entered my mind was AOC, the person, and boy, my head was spinning. How in the world am I going to respond to that? Well, and how many children do you have, Judge?
I have 3. So Alexis, Alexander, and Anthony. And my husband, Jeffrey, and I live in Lexington with our 3 children.
Well, you've been married how long now?
Oh, wow. So almost 23 years. And I am very blessed to have a wonderfully supportive husband. And actually his birthday is coming up soon. And we're going to celebrate big.
Well, the family is the foundation of everything that we do in life. And, I've never known anybody that got where they wanted to go without the support and love of their children, their spouse, and their extended family. It's far more than a one-person endeavor, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely is. And my parents, of course, are also my biggest cheerleaders. And as we previously discussed, my dad's a retired Marine. a retired deputy sheriff, so I had an opportunity to grow up all over the world. But of course, we're from North Carolina, and my parents are still living here in Davidson County. Huge support system for me, and instilled in me very conservative values that define who I am. Then they'll be married 50 years in March next year. And my in-laws also live in Davidson County, just wonderful, salt of the earth people, good Christians. And they will be celebrating their 62nd anniversary next year. And I'm just blessed to have them all here in Davidson County.
My wife and I just had our 55th in August.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, thank you. And, you know, everything that that we've achieved in life has come through the efforts of both of us. And so I have a great awareness of, you know, what it takes for a person like you to pursue your dreams and sometimes be traveling around and leaving your family behind and coming back at the end of the week, maybe. So it's a responsibility that most people don't really appreciate, and leaving the family behind and all that goes with it.
Well, that's true. I'm very blessed, though, that my children are older now, because running a statewide campaign is not something I would have ever done while my children were young. So Alexis is going to be 22 next month. Alexander will be 20. And Anthony, my youngest, is 15 and still in high school, but he's doing exceptionally well and just got inducted into the Beta National Honor Society. So I'm very proud of him. And he's got, you know, dad to be home with him when I'm not here, make sure he stays on that straight and narrow path.
Absolutely. Well, I think I'm out of questions. Is there anything that you would like to say to kind of wrap things up about your campaign and all the elements that whatever you would like to convey to the public? Go right ahead, please.
Okay. Well, you can always learn more about me at my website, and that's www.judgewoodforjustice.com. But I want to definitely point out that I am a constitutional Christian conservative, and I've been a trial court judge and an appellate judge, and I am endeavoring to take my almost 20 years of judicial experience to the North Carolina Supreme Court for the benefit of all of North Carolina. And I firmly believe that we need to have constitutional conservatives on the Supreme Court. We also need to have justices who have trial court judicial experience. And I am excited about the opportunity to serve in that capacity. And so I'm Judge April Wood, and I'm your conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court next year.
Well, that sounds like a winning recipe to me. I'm glad to have had the opportunity to talk to you. I really do. And I hope that if you get back into this neck of the woods, that you'll give me a call. You've got my number, and I'd be glad to help you in any way that I can. And I look forward to talking to you again sometime. You get my emails from time to time, so I hope that you enjoy them, and I'll look forward.
I do enjoy your emails, and thank you. So definitely keep sending those emails. I have found them very enlightening.
I got one coming out that's already out, I guess, about the virus and Dr. Fauci's role in it. So that'll be kind of an eye-opener for some people, I think.
I think it will be. I'm looking forward to reading it.
Thank you again very much. You're very kind, and I'm looking forward to it. If you need anything, you let me know, and I'll be glad to provide any assistance to you that I can.
Thank you so much, John. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching the John Woodard Show. Hope you've learned something about this fine jurist who's seeking to make the step into the highest judicial office in North Carolina. And I hope that you'll consider her candidacy. If there's anything that she or I can do, if you've got some questions and you want to ask her about some questions, you know how to get in touch with me. I'll see that she gets them, or you can send them directly to her. That's your plug to give us your website address.
That's www.judgewoodforjustice.com.
Thank you again. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, Judge. Well, really good talking to you.
Great talking to you too. Thank you, John. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.